Dianoga. The Dianoga is one of the galaxy's most misleadingly terrifying creatures, because at first glance it looks like nothing at all. Most fans know it from its brief appearance in the Death Star trash compactor in A New Hope, where Luke gets yanked underwater by a mysterious tentacled thing. But that moment barely scratches the surface of what Dianoga really are. These creatures begin life as microscopic parasites drifting through contaminated water, but over time they grow into huge, eel-like predators with 7 powerful tentacles, a muscular body, and a single eye stalk that swivels independently like a periscope. Fully grown Dianoga can reach up to 10 meters long, and despite spending most of their lives submerged, they're highly intelligent, more than many humanoids would guess. Some can even understand simple commands and form rudimentary bonds with their caretakers, which makes them one of the strangest pet or pest species in the Star Wars universe. Their preferred hunting style is pure patience. A Dianoga will sink into sludge, murky water, trash heaps, or sewage systems, exposing nothing but that eerie floating eye. They wait for vibrations. Footsteps, splashes, shifting debris, before exploding upward and ensnaring prey in a flurry of tentacles. Once wrapped, escape is nearly impossible, as their grip tightens based on struggling movement. In Legends, the specific Dianoga aboard the Death Star was named Omi, and its backstory is surprisingly deep. Omi was smuggled aboard as a trash-eating organism, meant to help break down organic waste. Over time, it learned the rhythms of the station, identified the trash compactor as a safe territory, and even developed a sense of curiosity about humanoids. When it grabbed Luke, it wasn't out of pure malice. It was startled by the sudden activation of the compactor and dove for safety. Between its intelligence, stealth, size, and uncanny ability to thrive in filth and pollution, the Dianoga turns any dark, wet corner of the galaxy into a potential death trap. Wampa. The Wampa is the undisputed apex predator of Hoth, and it earned that title by being far more than just a snow monster. Towering over most humanoids with a height of over 3 meters, Wampas are a masterclass in cold-adapted evolution. Their thick white fur works as natural camouflage, turning them practically invisible against Hoth's blizzards, while a dense layer of insulating fat lets them survive temperatures that would freeze most species solid. Unlike many large predators, Wampas are strategic hunters. They rarely chase prey across the open plains. Instead, they use ambush tactics. A Wampa will silently stalk from behind snow formations, caves, or drifting whiteout conditions, waiting for the ideal moment to launch a single, overwhelming strike. With arms powerful enough to lift a full-grown human like a ragdoll and claws sharp enough to slice through cold weather gear, a Wampa only needs one clean hit to incapacitate its target. What makes them especially dangerous is that they don't always kill immediately. Wampas often drag stunned prey back to their icy dens, hang them upside down, and let the cold weaken them further before feeding. This behavior isn't cruelty, it's efficiency. Hoth offers so few resources that a fresh meal must be preserved as long as possible. In Legends, Wampas were even more fearsome. Some possessed limited pack intelligence, coordinating territory boundaries, and even attacking outposts like Echo Base during a particularly harsh season. Their howls could carry through miles of snow tunnels, creating eerie, resonant warnings that traveling creatures learned to fear. A mature Wampa could also shrug off blaster wounds, using sheer endurance and thick fur to fight through injuries that would kill most beings. Luke Skywalker's encounter on Hoth is the most famous example of their predatory instinct. It wasn't a random attack, but classic Wampa methodology: stalk, strike, drag, store. And considering Luke barely escaped even with a lightsaber, it puts into perspective just how lethal these creatures are to anyone less prepared. Rathtar. The Rathtar is one of the galaxy's most notoriously terrifying predators. A creature so dangerous that even seasoned smugglers handle them like volatile explosives. Originating from the planet Twill, Rathtars are essentially rolling engines of carnage. Massive spheres of muscle, tendrils, teeth, and a single pupil-like eye that gives them an unsettling, almost sentient focus when they hunt. What makes Rathtars truly lethal is the way they blend brute force with horrifying efficiency. Their tentacles aren't just for grabbing. Each one is strong enough to immobilize a full-grown humanoid and flexible enough to reach through vents, gaps, or even wrap around prey mid-sprint. Once they latch on, it's over. Their mouths are a maw of rotating teeth designed not to tear, but to pull prey inward in one smooth motion, making the whole encounter shockingly quick. Rathtars are also incredibly fast, which feels unfair for a creature this large. When they roll their bodies, they can cover ground like a boulder fired from a catapult. Many victims only realize a Rathtar is present when they hear that unmistakable wet, slithering rumble, and by then, they're already in trouble. In terms of intelligence, Rathtars sit in a weird middle ground. They're not strategists like Nexu or pack hunters like wolves, but They're not mindless either. They can recognize movement patterns, track heat signatures, and will prioritize the most accessible prey first. This makes them terrifying in enclosed spaces. The narrower the hallway, the more deadly they become. In Legends, Rathtars were so feared that entire civilizations reportedly went extinct after transporting them off-world by accident. Their population growth is explosive since they breed quickly and aggressively compete with native species until they dominate the ecosystem. Their reputation became galactic-scale infamous thanks to crews like the Guavian Death Gang, who tried to weaponize them, and of course, Han Solo, whose incident aboard the Eravana showed just how easily Rathtars can turn a shipping job into a survival horror scenario. A fully grown Rathtar isn't just dangerous, it's a moving natural disaster. A creature that can depopulate small settlements and tear through squads of trained soldiers without slowing down. In the grand list of deadly Star Wars fauna, the Rathtar earns its place by sheer overwhelming ferocity. Gundark. The Gundark is one of those creatures whose reputation is so widespread that even Jedi use it as a benchmark for toughness. When someone says, "You look strong enough to pull the ears off a Gundark," it's not just a joke, it's a reminder that these things are absolute monsters. Native to the planet Vancor, Gundarks are built like living battering rams. Their most iconic feature is their 4 arms, 2 massive primary arms for crushing power, and 2 smaller secondary arms used for gripping, climbing, and wrestling prey into position. This makes them devastating in close quarters. A Gundark can climb sheer walls, hang upside down, and still have both primary arms free to attack. Physically, they're one of the toughest non-kaiju species in the galaxy. Their muscles are dense and corded, their skull's thick enough to withstand blaster-glancing shots, and they have a bite force strong enough to crack bone or durasteel plating in some cases. They move with a surprising level of speed too. Not lightning quick like a Nexu, but powerful lunging bursts that cover distance in a heartbeat. Aggression is basically their default state. Gundarks are territorial and easily provoked, especially during mating seasons when males become even more feral. If you wander into a Gundark nest, you're either getting chased, thrown, or bitten. There is no peaceful option. In canon, we've seen how deadly they are during the Clone Wars, where even Jedi Knights considered them a serious threat. In Legends, they're even worse. Stories tell of Gundarks tearing apart armored vehicles, ambushing entire expedition teams, or dragging unlucky travelers into caves where no sound escapes. Despite their brutality, Gundarks do have a basic social structure. Mothers are fiercely protective, and some packs develop rudimentary communication patterns. But don't mistake that for tameness. You cannot train a Gundark. Countless attempts have ended with handlers becoming dinner. In essence, a Gundark is the Star Wars equivalent of combining a gorilla, a tiger, and a nightmare. When one shows up, the question isn't if someone gets hurt, it's how many. Sando Aqua Monster. The Sando Aqua Monster isn't just one of the deadliest creatures on Naboo, it's one of the deadliest creatures in the entire galaxy. This thing is the undisputed apex predator of the planet's deep oceans. A leviathan so massive and so unstoppable that even other megafauna flee at the mere disturbance of its passing. A Sando can grow over 200 meters long, making it larger than most starfighters and even some small capital ships. Its body is built like a hybrid of a crocodile, a shark, and a mythological sea dragon. Thick armored hide, rows of brutal teeth, and a tail capable of creating shockwave-like currents. Just the movement of its body can crush underwater structures or flip submersibles. What makes the Sando especially terrifying is its hunting style. It doesn't rely on speed, although it can move quickly, but on its ability to lurk in the pitch-black depths of Naboo's oceans, where light never reaches. Down there, pressure is immense, visibility is non-existent, and almost every creature is blind. The Sando is perfectly adapted to this realm, using vibration sensitivity and powerful sonar-like senses to detect prey kilometers away, and it eats everything. Opies? Swallowed whole. Kolo claw fish? Considered snacks. The Sando sits at the very top of the food chain. The other 2 legendary Naboo predators spend their lives hoping they never get noticed by one. When Qui-Gon famously said, "There's always a bigger fish," this is what he meant. Behavior-wise, Sandos are solitary giants. They dominate huge territories and can live for centuries, growing larger and more aggressive with age. They rarely come near shallow waters, not because they can't, but because they don't need to. All the food they want is in the abyss. When a Sando does rise to hunt closer to the surface, entire ecosystems react. Even the Gungans, who have an entire military built around underwater combat, treat Sandos with deep reverence and absolute fear. Their cities are constructed in locations specifically chosen to avoid Sando migratory routes. In short, if it comes down to you and a Sando Aqua Monster, the only strategy is prayer. And even then, you're probably just seasoning. Kowakian Monkey Lizard. The Kowakian Monkey Lizard might look like comic relief on the surface, but its reputation across the galaxy is far darker than most casual fans realize. These creatures, native to Kowak, are small, wiry, and usually no more than half a meter tall. but they're notorious for their cruelty, intelligence, and unpredictable aggression. Their iconic high-pitched cackling isn't just noise, it's often a reaction to someone else's suffering. Monkey lizards are semi-sentient, which puts them in a strange space between animal and sapient being. They can understand basic, mimic voices, operate simple tools, and even form complex social bonds. The problem is that in the wild, these bonds are often centered on dominance and torment. Packs of Kowakian monkey lizards have been observed harassing larger predators, stealing food from dangerous creatures, and coordinating ambushes on travelers. Their brains are wired for mischief, but mischief on Kowak isn't just pranks, it's survival through chaos. The most famous example is Salacious B. Crumb, the sadistic jester of Jabba the Hutt's court. Crumb wasn't kept as a pet, he was kept as entertainment, expected to mock and torment whoever Jabba disliked. Monkey lizards thrive in environments where cruelty is rewarded, and Jabba's palace was the perfect ecosystem for one. Crumb's constant laughter wasn't random, it was triggered by discomfort, pain, and fear in others, which is completely normal behavior for his species. In the wild, Kowakian monkey lizards eat insects, small rodents, carrion, and occasionally prey on creatures larger than themselves by swarming in numbers. They're surprisingly tough, too, able to cling to life even after significant injuries. Their agility makes them difficult to catch, and their sharp claws can cause serious harm when they decide to attack, which happens more often than you'd think. The scariest part is their adaptability. Some have been documented learning how to dismantle equipment, pick locks, sabotage machinery, and cooperate with criminal groups. Others have formed long-term partnerships with smugglers, usually chaotic and short-lived. In short, the Kowakian monkey lizard might look small and harmless, but it's one of the most destructive little forces of nature in the Outer Rim. Their danger doesn't come from size, it comes from intelligence, cruelty, and pure opportunism.